Is it okay if we do lunch half an hour after 1:30? Is that okay?
Fine. Yeah, let's conclude.
Okay.
Let's conclude.
Great. So we will start the next panel, which is initiatives outside the gates. So I request Ms Malini, Prashant, and who else do we need? Mr. Arvind, so Subbaiah, and Meera. Okay. While they take their seat, I will just quickly tell you what happens in Gurgaon. In Gurgaon, people don't pay maintenance fees. Okay. मेरे बाप का फ्लैट है मैं क्यों मेंटेनेंस पे करूं that's the Gurgaon mentality. So what they have done, they have combined the electricity meter and the maintenance cost. So right, that's the purpose actually. So what happens, the association is in charge of collecting the maintenance bill, electricity bill, because it's combined with the maintenance bill. So association switches off the meter if they don't pay maintenance. So it comes as a combined bill. If 200 rupees is the electricity bill and maintenance bill is 2000, the bill will come as 2200 that they have to pay together. They can't choose to pay only electricity bill. So if they don't pay, then the association switches off the electricity connection, which we cannot do because it is a relationship between the resident and BESCOM. So that is an advantage. So if you think that's an advantage you want, probably converting it to a HT line and then distributing ourselves, billing it ourselves makes sense. Otherwise, that entire admin overhead of billing the electricity meter also is something that needs to be looked at. Great. So we're ready for this panel and I hand over to Meera. Oh, you're, sorry.
Yeah, hi. Just to clarify, Prashant could not be available for this workshop, so I am his colleague. I hope we do justice to your time and add value to all of us here. So we have all been very busy, firefighting problems in our apartments. Every time there is a fire, we just run towards it. So whether it is security, whether it is waste management, whether it is water, whether it is anything else. The topic on the table today that we have with us is that initiatives outside of our gates. So for the next 30-35 minutes, could we assume that the problems are there, they'll always be there. That's a part of in the nature of the job. And as San also said earlier, it is a thankless job. And I think we are all accustomed to it anyways. So now we are saying, can we take a step back and think of something. Think of neighborhoods of tomorrow. Think of the problems and the opportunities and the responsibilities as an apartment we have towards our neighbors. So is the plumber our neighbor? Is the waste worker our neighbor? Or is the criminal our neighbor? Because we just talked about societies. So the topic on the table is about taking the initiatives outside of our apartment gates. So let me introduce the panel here. Let me start with the ladies. We have Meera. So Meera is the co-founder of Citizen Matters, which is a wonderful initiative, in fact, transforming citizens into journalists. In fact, taking the ownership of your city in your own hands. So that's what Citizen Matters is. We have Malini here, who is the co-founder of Kasa Muktha Bellandur, 2 bin 1 bag, and also a member of Solid Waste Management Roundtable. We have Mr. Subbaiah here, who is actually from CiFoS, which is Citizens for Sustainability, essentially trying to organize volunteers to come together. So he is actually spotting the spark. Wherever he sees spark, he just fires them. So he is looking for volunteers and willing to work in any domain and make them and enable them to work faster and sooner and organize more of them. We call it retail change, and there is a wholesale change. He's talking about a lot of retail change, a lot of small communities doing small things, but in large numbers. And we have Mr. Arvind with us. He is an urban activist, and he is working on reviving lakes, traffic problems around us, and sustainable urban mobility. So just a while ago, I said we have been firefighting a lot. Here is the panel, which is an optimum mix of the firefighters and also the thinkers. So they have taken their own time doing stuff, and also there's a lot of thinking gone behind it. So I'll open the discussion here, which is about outside of our apartment gates, to Meera first. And the topic I have is, as MCs, we are always pointed towards, so in fact, all the residents usually say, you have not done this, it is your responsibility as MC. It is, we are paying you, or in fact, many cases, in fact, we don't get paid, and it's a thankless job, of course. No, I have met MCs which get paid. So, so we are saying, how do we change that? Because Citizen Matters has done exactly that, has mobilized people and citizens across the city in taking charge. So if we take an apartment as a city in itself, is it possible to mobilize residents rather than they pointing fingers at us? Can we involve them as a part of the solution? Because just in our previous sessions came out that, okay, cost is okay, I'm willing to pay, but then residents are averse to it. They're not owning it up themselves. So while the question is open to all, I would like to listen from Meera first, please.
Thank you. See, we started Citizen Matters about 8 years ago because we didn't really find any media focusing on local issues, and local is where our most of our problems are, right? Whether it is water or bad roads or traffic or waste. So really it's a broken system. Moment you step outside your apartment, it is miserable. So that's the reason we kind of said, okay, local media is very essential because we need to first understand what is going on, not just what is going on, but also why and how we can fix the problems. So that was the starting point. So, and over the years, we have a mix of professional journalists as well as citizen contributors, who complement each other with the kind of stories that are brought out. So the professional journalists will go do out investigative stuff, getting information from the government, documents, RTI, which, you know, as ordinary citizens, if you go stand in a government office, you know how it is. We really don't have that kind of time and, you know, effort we can put in. So they do that, and what citizens bring in is their knowledge, because what is going on in their street, they really know it. They know whether the garbage is collected or whether, you know, something is broken and so on. So that was a starting point. And I think, you know, over the years, it's been fantastic, you know, looking at the way Bangalore has changed. In fact, everybody from other cities come and say, oh, you guys are so lucky, so lucky. Bangalore has so many activists, civic activists, citizen initiatives are like there in every neighborhood. We have work related to rejuvenating lakes, to looking at, you know, BRTS corridors, all citizen-led. No other city do you find this kind of massive citizen-led movements across sectors. So I think that's the best part, because what we do is we provide the information and we highlight solutions which have worked. In fact, just to look at waste management, the first story I remember was Brigade Millennium and how it failed. We actually got the, you know, Aarti Mane was one of the pioneering, and, you know, they started segregation and it just failed because they had this chutes, you know. Brigade had these chutes where everybody would go dump things. And that was a major learning from that exercise. We documented the learning saying, okay, we did this, and it failed, and here are the reasons. So the next time when we, I mean, now I well my citizen had, when we initiated in Bellandur, three apartments, we started with the whole segregation, and we took those learnings and said, you know, there will be no, it has to be door-to-door collection. You cannot use plastic covers to, you know, to line your bags and all, to bins, and so on. So I think providing the information with whether it is, you know, a success or a failure, documenting all the information, talking about how people have initiated things has actually empowered more people. So now, whether it is lakes or waste management, things are just spreading virally because this whole, you know, community seems to be inspired, saying, oh, Bellandur did it, BTM did it, you know, Koramangala's doing it, Yelahanka's doing it, what can we do? So I think that's what I see happening over the years, and it's been a privilege just interacting with all citizens, volunteers, yeah, that's
Okay. So what your point you're making is simply fantastic. You just said that if we simply communicate with our residents or our citizens on a larger scale, they will come themselves. And I have seen on your website, I think we have more citizen journalists than your regular journalists. Yeah. So I think if that is what MCs can achieve, where the residents can say that I want to be a part of the solution rather than pointing fingers, I think that's a wonderful statement if we can take that. Just simply communicating, maybe ApartmentADDA application can help us there. So the next question, since we just talked about waste management, is, the next question is to Malini here, is that, see, we've been talking, and you have been a fantastic, in fact, we know you as a waste management guru. And do you think that this citizen involvement is absolutely necessary? That's point number one. And we are all worried about, so I just saw a Facebook post yesterday, let me describe that to you. It had some 3 images embedded in one, and it said, in one image there were some footprints of an elephant on a sand. On the other it was paws of a bird. And on the third image it showed garbage all over and it said imprints of humans. We are really concerned about it, that's why we are all here. And as apartments, are we doing the same? Are we, leaving those imprints? So what is your take about involving citizens? Because citizen mobilization is the key. That's what I believe. What's your take on that?
So we've been doing, waste segregation and 2-bin 1 bags. So I'm hoping most of you have already implemented it in your apartments because that's the standard in Bangalore. But let me talk about the plastic ban, which is the movement we've been running with since December. In every ward, it started with typically 2 women who'll say there's a burning happening near my garbage. So you don't try and solve a problem in abstract. So we've always, wherever you see today a map and say where is plastic ban, where is segregation, all these green maps are there on our website. It's only where citizens are active. We say, okay, if you don't care, if there are not 2 people in that neighborhood who care for their neighborhood, let them rot. We are not BBMP, it's not our problem to solve their problem. But if there are 2 people who are willing to solve the problem, who are willing to work, we are happy to help. And the way we work is we develop what we call algorithms. So it's maybe, our IT backgrounds which come into force. So when you do the same thing 3rd or 4th time, you want to build, these are the frameworks, these are the vendors where you can buy stuff, these are the alternatives. So if you take plastic ban, you'll see Singasandra is going live. The pamphlet which is being put on every shop is a standard pamphlet which has been used by 10 wards before them. Even to announce the ban, the poster is a standard poster. So those are things which we've got a whole, literally a Google Drive, right, full of things. But who drives it? People from the ward. So let me take an example of Baswanagar, which is not too far from here, around HAL. It started with 2 women, Padma and Manisha. I said, first you do your research, you know why it's bothering you. There is a point where the garbage is being transferred, there's a lot of disease, and Padma's son was falling sick often. But she said, I said, find more people now in your ward. He said, how do I find? We tell them, speak to your association, they'll know few association, there was a lake group, and they started asking. We said, just find 5-6 more people, and that's a good start. They found 25 other people because, there were some large communities, so everyone from associations came together. We said, great, now invite your MP, invite your MLA, and let's do a launch walkathon. 500 people turn up. If any one of you has been to Baswanagar earlier, and if you go now, there used to be a garbage pile, which was, the height of this roof. Big pile, all mixed waste, causing disease. They launched in 26 Jan. Today is not even 2 months over. That pile, I went, it's still there, unfortunately. But fortunately, it's all mixed waste. Now they're talking to the corporator and say, instead of it happening on the roadside, now that the pile is coming, but secondary segregation, which should happen in a dry waste collection center, is still happening on the roadside. Can we create a dry waste collection center? The corporator has set aside funds, is working with them. So there are enough and more people like me in the city today who can help. In fact, Baswanagar team themselves have agreed to help at least 5 other wards in their neighborhood. We have teams like that in Yelanka, we have teams like that in HSR, Bellandur. So all of us are just citizens going around helping other citizens to get our neighborhoods clean. We asked citizens in my ward in Bellandur saying, we want people who will commit at least 4 hours. Our group is around 81 or 95 on different dates, but we have actually 50 people who come on a weekly basis who are spending more than 4 hours just to go shop to shop. It's not enough for BBMP to put posters in the TV or the news to spread through newspapers. They're going shop to shop, educating shopkeeper, okay, the plastic bag is banned, but these are the 4 alternatives. These are the NGOs who will give you paper bag. For your kind of, if you're a meat shop, the best recommended solution is a banana leaf and tie it with newspaper. So because of what we look at citizens movement and citizens getting together, it's doing a huge change. Some of the people here asked us, how, as MCs, that's not your responsibility, right? But the disease is coming back into our communities. And you'll find, if you don't start by saying, this is the solution and this is the cost, that's a wrong place to start. You have to share with your community what is the problem.
So I was coming to that question, and thank you so much for making the point. So as MCs here, all of us, we face this issue, and this question just came in our previous session when Karan was speaking. We are okay paying that money. If it incurs more cost to it, we will pay that. But how do we communicate this with 250 other people that you have to pay 4 times the money now, because actually responsibly managing waste takes that much? So can I hear from you and others where, how did you communicate that to your apartment guys, that now it's time for us to pay? Are there some formulas that MC members can take from here that they can go convince people? Because that's the pain point from their side.
Yes. So of course we have a well-defined algorithm.
Wow.
Some of them very nice, some of them not so nice to the MC members. What we do is, in communities which are still not segregating, we have teams in wards, so we're saying, okay, this community is not segregating, let's go to BBMP and get them fined for non-segregation.
Good, that's
Start.
wonderful.
It's a law. I mean, if as a management committee, you're not segregating your waste, you're defying the law. Isn't that illegal? I mean, I'm sure none of you would want to do things which are illegal.
True.
That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah, so it's okay, it's, yeah, please.
Yes. Yes. All the time. So I've had the vendor walking by and saying, oh, this is where you drop your daughter. I said, yes, this is where I drop her every day. But the point is, I'm still alive, right? I'm still here.
And see, one point.
Women, actually, so this is the truth of the matter, women across Bangalore, and that's why you see in the waste management, 90% of the women who are actually out of the streets and leading it are women, get threatened less, no women has come to physical harm. Unlike men who actually sometimes been beaten up, or we've heard of they've been beaten up by mafia and other things.
Yeah, so for example, in this case, what happened was, so I've been into waste management for the last 2-3 years, and then I have figured out, so I get almost 1 threat call in every 3 months. And they say, okay, Saturday you're going there, we know. But then once you don't go there on that Saturday, then that's the game over. But if you go there and make things happen because you're doing something, then you are not giving them the extra power to, just call you the next time. And the other thing is, if you continue to do good, nobody can stop you. Then call your MP, MLA nearby, and then make sure. I mean, everybody has to support you because you're following the law. Of course, maybe you get beaten up once or twice, but then that's okay. Oh yes, these mafias are also interconnected sometimes. If you don't take their garbage services, they don't give you water.
So let's see what happens, right? Somebody mentioned around 6,000 rupees for a 250 apartment. What happens? So in my ward, there is 35 lakhs given per month for garbage pickup. There are supposed to be 32 vehicles and around 200 Pora Karmikas. All this is public information, thankfully now. Earlier we had to file RTIs to get this. But today if you go to BBMP website, the new BBMP SWM Special Commissioner, the commissioners and the JC Health is fantastic people. So all this information is available on the net. You can see for your ward what is the statistics. on the ground, because we followed each trucks, we find not out of that time environmental officer BBMP was saying, oh, our vendor is so nice. He's supposed to give 8 vehicles, he's giving 10. Though officially he's getting paid for 35 lakhs. But even that 8 to 10 vehicles, what happens to them? They are supposed to pick up door to door from independent houses, from small communities, non-bulk generators, small shops, chai shop guys. They are supposed to pick up garbage for free. Their garbage picking capacity is being consumed by apartments who are willing to pay them 6,000 rupees bribe. Why? Because they are picking up, this BBMP has X number of capacity, right? Today that capacity is most probably less than what is needed. But even that capacity is being filled by apartments who are doing illegal work by giving it to a BBMP contractor. We found big vendors like Bangalore Central, 2 tons of waste. BBMP, what will independent...
Just to clarify, I think you need to say that BBMP cannot pick up, none of these contractors can pick up from bulk generators, which is, whether it's corporates or malls or apartments. Apartments bigger than, whatever, 50 flats. You cannot have the BBM, you can see a lot of places, BBMP vehicle coming. Yeah.
Just give me a moment. First of all, I beg to request you and beg to differ on this point. Apartment dwellers, at least for my apartment, for last 15 years, I have been a green crusader and I have ensured 100% waste segregation. And I know few other apartments who are doing, and people are learning and improving. You are terming, I mean the administration is terming them bulk generators. If we are a bulk generator, then any particular layout in Vidyaranipura or Yelahanka or Indiranagar having a cluster of 500 houses is also a bulk generator. We are a cluster of families, cluster of apartments in a gated community which are similar to any cluster of houses in a layout, and we are spending our personal money for ensuring cleanliness in that 7.5 acres compound, paying for all the amenities ourselves.
So
not
this is not our definition, this is a BBMP definition.
So if you
No.
are the people who matter, who have a voice with the authorities, I beg to you, please get this definition modified.
Yeah, one second.
Okay,
Malini.
What will you get as return?
Gated communities, we are not bulk generators.
Once
We are
in
bulk
15
generators.
days.
HMT layout is also a bulk generator.
No, once in 15 days you'll get a pickup. Today I can't count, there are around 500 plus communities which are today got private contractors picking up their waste, who are segregating and getting a private contractors. Communities which are where BBMP is supposed to pick up, they are moving to responsible vendors. Why? Because most of them, they're finding that BBMP is coming once in 3 days, once in 5 days.
Okay, so
You
here-
want better service?
Okay, here I have a question. As a normal citizen, one fine day I moved to a gated community which you are terming as a bulk generator. Okay. When I was in an individual house, I was putting my waste into a dustbin kept at this corner of the street, and I was forgetting about it, right? Till a few years. And I was expecting that it is the
You're
job
doing illegal stuff if you were doing that.
No, one second. There is.
I'm saying 15 years back. 15 years back, 20 years back, what was the system? That our maid would go and put the garbage in that dustbin provided at the street corner 20 years ago, and we were expecting it is the municipal's job, municipal corporation's job to pick up our garbage and clean our streets. One fine day I happened to move into a gated community, an apartment complex, which today you're calling a bulk generator. This awakening came to me, and we started segregating waste long before BBMP made it a rule or something. Okay, fine. We're taking care of our garbage. But then ultimately, even if it is segregated, it has to be disposed of from my gate. Okay? So we understood, as a normal citizen of Bangalore, that it is the corporation's job to pick up my waste from my community. Right? Just as I was doing when I was in an individual home. So how do you say that we are driving them and we are...
One second. I agree with
Did
your.
BBMP give us at that
I'll give you one more point.
Who should take our garbage, you know?
Let me support your argument also. All of us, whether bulk generators or not, we are paying a garbage cess.
Yes.
and they are not picking up, right? So yes, you can call it an injustice, and it has been raised in the PIL that is going on in court in Solid Waste Management Roundtable. Some of us had been attending the hearing. This is a key point that has been raised. So it is not solved yet. So it is an open issue that is being brought out every now and then. It is worth fighting for maybe. But that doesn't, the current law still says these are bulk generators. Now we can argue about it, but the solution is not to, break the law.
I'm spending my own money. For managing my waste, I'm spending my money.
True. Let me just try to. Please go ahead.
No, so what we're saying is not just to apartment complex.
Yeah, please.
So it's not about, blaming BBMP.
Yeah,
None of us are from BBMP. None of us are responsible for the waste that is being said. We're bribing. We're not bribing. Because, see, the debate's enough now.
Point taken. So maybe I can ask some basic questions. I'm feeling a little ignored now. Yeah, I'm a layman, definitely a layman in waste management circles. What does a plastic ban mean? The reason this question comes to my mind is, of course, you can ban the plastic bag that Hypercity gives you or MK Retail gives you. But every masala packet that MK Retail makes, or every bread loaf that some other company makes, practically each and every one of our products is made in single-use plastic, right? So it is true that we can get rid of the Hypercity large plastic bag, but how are we going to enforce a complete plastic ban?
Okay, so when you look at a big war, you break it into small battles, right? So if you look at it in the plastic ban, who started it? Citizens in different wards. We were just saying, yes, city has a big problem. City has not banned it, but in our wards, we will ban it. Thanks to it, all citizens in those wards worked on the alternatives. We presented solutions, and that's why I've done a show and tell here a little bit. What are the alternatives which are there? Today, the markets are flooded with alternatives, and the state government banned it. What they've banned is only what you find on the streets, what is not today getting recycled. But things like Kurkure packets, things like Pepsi, Cola bottles, all this is not currently banned. Anything which is integral to the process of manufacturing is currently not banned.
Can I find a Lay's chips packet which is packaged in banana leaf? No, right? I mean,
So whatever
Present problem is not Lay's packet.
present problem,
The hotels which are restaurants, they are giving sambar, chutney, and they simply allow it to
yes.
get spoiled, and along with the plastic packet, with the thread tied, it goes into the waste basket. And our people who are collecting the garbage, they are showing me, isko kya karenge?
Yes, so you'll find on our the tube in one bag website, that is banned.
Packed lunch or packed dinner or anything in the politics.
So that is currently banned. Now, has it got implemented uniformly? No. We are trying to work with the government and saying, first, how do we implement this better all over Bangalore now? There are around 25 wards which have currently come forward, who are either implemented it or in the process of implementing it. Every weekend gets 2 more wards, 2 more wards. But is there a better way to do it? And then second is, how do you do rollout? We feel as citizens we have a critical role to play. We are the ones who are going to the shop. We are the daily inspectors. BBMP inspectors can come once a week, once in 10 days. We go to the shops. Our inspector comes for 2 hours in 1 week. By the time we have all the list of defaulters where we've gone 3 times, 4 times, education, they're not changing, they're still using plastic. We give them the list, we take the inspector straight there, find them. Now, don't stop at the other 15 shops, now the 16th shop. They're again a defaulter, find them. What is the exact list? If you read the BBMP, you will not be able to make out. So we've done is, on the same website, we've created a plastic ban or disposables ban document where we put images. So something like this, everyone says this is a cloth bag, Chinese jute it's called. It's actually a jute because Yes, and it's plastic. So if you burn it, it is worse than plastic. Jude. So, you know, so educating people, customers, so shopkeepers are not our enemies. If you look at it, a lot of stories we're getting, all shopkeepers are saying they're actually saving money. They had a problem their customers were not willing to accept. But now when it's banned in the whole ward, everyone is accepting. We've seen customers who are taking it in dupattas, jackets, helmets. One time you'll take, 2 times you'll take, 3rd time you'll remember to get a bag. There are a lot of interesting alternatives which are coming out in the market. There is a borrow a bag. More itself has come out with a borrow a bag. So the market is getting flooded with alternatives.
So let's first understand why this plastic ban was actually mooted. If you see the black spots where garbage is thrown, is primarily the bag, this white polythene bag, which is the below 40 micron or the bags that you get in shopping, in which you dump all the garbage, tie it up and throw it. So when we started identifying places and said, how can we stop this thing? The first thing was, if people don't get hold of these bags, that much of dumping will come down. So your things of that, your bread cover or your kurkure cover, very hardly that you'll stuff all your garbage in it and then throw it around. And this tying up of this thing and throwing out, if you see people riding on the 2-wheelers, just throwing it across and going, is this polythene bag. If we can cut that, is when we can cut down these black spots also. People will still dump, but can we take one step forward and then go
Sure.
ahead? This was the whole idea.
So let me bring our perspective of initiatives outside of our apartments. So so I am a layman for lake revivals, please. So I would like to know, so whichever lake I visited, and I have heard this, somebody saying outside that Bangalore had some 53 lakes and now we have only 8, which are 280 lakes. Yeah, so we are saying that whichever lake we see today, we have apartments surrounding it. So could you please, I'm sure some of us will have apartments nearby a lake, and you have time, and you have, you know, a lot of us either treating that water and sending it to the lake, or some of us not doing it at all, or whether do we have the ownership of that lake so that we can put anything into it? What's your thought about it? I mean, complete layman.
A lot of questions packed into that. I think we are all in agreement that our lakes should look beautiful, right? There's no question about it. So when we drive by or walk by a lake like Vartur or Bellandur, and we find that it's smelly and to say the least, it's not aesthetic at all. There's garbage floating, there's all kinds of unmentionable items inside. And why that is the case is we, right? So what we produce goes right into the lake, right? So that's the first lesson, right? So now, how do we go about reviving? Clearly, we definitely want to revive lakes for a variety of reasons, because a revived lake like Kaikundranalli Lake or Puttanahali Lake is a very nice spot for families. You can go for a jog, you can enjoy, you know, birds and so on and so forth. But typically all these lakes are, to begin with, filled with sewage and also garbage. So you have to first figure out, I mean, if the lake near your house is the one that you're targeting, you have to bring together a group of citizens, much like SWM, and approach the government authority. Typically, it's one of 2 government authorities, either the BBMP or the BDA, which owns the lake, or is the custodian of the lake. The BDA is not very good about managing lakes, but the BBMP's lake department is run by a very dynamic officer. His name is Satish. You just have to lobby them to raise the funds to fix the lake. And what does fixing a lake mean? It primarily means cleaning it up in terms of preventing the sewage from getting in, right? So in the past, what used to happen is that they used to divert the sewage from a certain lake that they wanted to revive. But what does diverting the sewage means? Where does the sewage go? Any guesses? It goes to the downstream lake, right? So is that a good thing? No, you're kicking the can down the road, right? And also there's another fact that has, I guess, recently come into consciousness, that a lot of the lakes are not rain fed. What are they fed by? They're fed by sewage. So in the old days when Bangalore had 960 lakes you know, and the population density was lower, a lot of these lakes used to dry up in the rain in the summer season, and they used to get wet only in the rainy season. So they were actually seasonal lakes. But now they are filled with water throughout the year, and that is because there's a constant inflow of sewage. So sewage, it turns out, is actually a good thing. And when you divert sewage from a lake, it can actually dry up, because you then have to wait for the rains to fill up. And I've seen that it takes 4 or 5 years for the rain to come. So now the new trend is to actually establish lakeshore sewage treatment plants, which I think is a wonderful idea. Because what happens is that it collects the sewage from all the slums nearby, all the apartment complexes nearby, all the PGs, the bachelors and so on and so forth, bachelor homes, etc., which inevitably don't have sewage treatment plants. They're supposed to have treatment plants, but nobody supervises them, and everybody's just granting them approval left, right, and center, right? And so we have done this experiment in Kundanahalli Lake, but it's not the first time that's done. Jakur Lake already has an STP. Saul Kere is coming up with an STP. So once all this sewage is treated, it actually replenishes the lake. Clean water goes into the lake. So it's a very satisfying solution. And the good news is that it's not only the government that has funds for this. The treatment of sewage is under CSR laws, corporate social responsibility laws, also a mandate of companies. So if you have friendly companies in your neighborhood, Whitefield, which is where I come from, has many companies, you can certainly appeal to them that there's a lake behind your backyard, it's filled with sewage, and please do something about the environment. And the 2% of their income, which is supposed to go into one of 4 categories, namely environment, women's empowerment, education, one more thing, it can actually go into the lake. And they're usually very happy to do that, because a lot of times as the year ends, March 31st, and they haven't used up their 2%, their CSR, what they do is, to obey the law, they write a check to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, which goes to Delhi. Why do that? Your own city has many local problems. There's many solid waste problems. There's many liquid waste problems. And so company money can and must be used. There's 100 crore of corporate money generated in CSR funds in Whitefield alone. Why not put that to local use? 100 crores from the companies and a matching grant from the government, and it's going to look beautiful.
So looking beyond community, so when a lot of most of you are from management. So first thing, if you're looking at thing like lake development, the first thing you can do is any lake which is being observed, and if people in the surrounding know that people are interested in this lake itself, is the first step to saving the lake. To save the lake, first you should know the boundary of the lake, and people are in the surrounding, especially the land grabbers or behind the lake, need to know that people are cautious. So everybody has problems in the management. When you're managing the entire thing, you'll have, so like the politicians, we have to use that method. Just divert the attention. So if you can get your community onto an activity that on a Saturday or a Sunday we'll do a lake walk as an activity, that itself is a first step towards saving a lake. So that can be something that you can do beyond your communities.
Okay, actually even before what you said, you need to find out who owns that lake. A lot of times you don't know. It could be BDA, BBMP, it could be some LDA, it could, anything. So, no, I'm just saying, so right from that there are multiple steps, though they make it sound a little easier than that. But there is an article on Citizen Matters on how to save a lake by Aarti Mane. Please check it out, because it talks about like multiple levels and which are the groups that can help you, the resources that you need to get to the next level.
Sure. So, yeah, please.
The same is true for SWM. So what you see on the, there was a tubeinonebag.in. So we are following all the BBMP rules. Like she said, I'm labeling them criminals. Actually, that's not true. Most people don't know what the law is. And if you read the law, it's very complicated. You don't know how to implement it. When we tried to first time implement it, it was 7-way segregation. How do we get it out of the house? How do we do it? Where do we buy? And all these things. So what we've done is we've created a step-by-step manual for the apartment complex. Just 2 days back, there was somebody who came from a community, they had around 120 houses. It took them 2 days to actually implement it, including doing a residential talk to the residents. There is a presentation that works. We've all failed to communicate, sometimes we communicate wrong information. Over a period of time as citizens, we've all used different presentations, we found, okay, this one works. So you'll find a presentation that you can do to your community, talking about why you need to do it. The second thing is the cost, which I mentioned earlier, which was around 250, is what, if you're not segregating, if you're not composting, is what you can do. Over a period of time, you'll see that there are X number of strategies that you can do. And that's when you go outside your community boundary. So there are 10 communities which decide to compose together. You can get the same vendor to give you a bulk discount. You can, we are trying to do donate dry waste now in our ward. So if one community does it, the vendor will most probably come and say, there are just 200 houses, we're going to charge for it. But when you start talking about 800 to 1,000 households, the dynamics completely change. With plastic ban, we're looking at all communities coming together and saying this is the NGO in that area. They can benefit by doing paper bags. But who gets them the papers? The communities come together and donate the paper to that NGO, and the street vendors buy it from them. So there are a lot of things, and you'll find most of them listed on that website, because we feel if you've learned it,
Share it. Yeah. So I think let me also make a mention about two in one bag. And I can't tell you how much I've learned from that one algorithm that these guys have written. It's actually a step-by-step process of how an apartment MC should go ahead and implement solid waste management in their apartment. If you just follow it like a recipe, a wonderful dish will come out. That's a simple, plain process. Now, once you have honed that process in a way, you can also adopt a nearby apartment or probably a nearby ward or a small community of people, maybe just outside your apartment gate to make it look cleaner. As she said, in some wards we are doing donate dry waste. It's a beautiful service. So what we're saying is we are coming to your streets once in a week. You pack your dry waste in a bag. We'll give you an SMS reminder one night before. It's a completely trackable technology-based waste collection happening, which gets recycled. You get SMSs back on the impact that you have created by donating the dry waste. So not only your apartment is creating an impact, now since you have already done it by following the processes, you now if you do not expand that, you do not make others do the same thing that you have done, then I think you're doing a crime. Because you need to spread what you've done. And I'm sure many of us are already segregating. We need to go a little step further to now think about what happens after we segregate. Because 3 years back we were talking about let's segregate. I think we have achieved that significant here that we should now think about beyond segregation. We have won that first part of the game. And now, learning from the Lake's story, I think as an apartment MC, if I live somewhere around the lake, and I'm sure Mr. Subbaiah would have also worked in the Lake Revival with some volunteers. And after this, we'll summarize this. What do you think that an apartment can do, should not do, if we are cognizant of the fact, and I am a responsible MC, I have citizen volunteers with me, what should I do tomorrow morning? Because I now feel, after this panel, I feel for the lake. Is it something that we can do as an apartment?
Of course, I think the first thing in bringing back a lake is to develop community support. And I think Subbaiah has already kind of mentioned that, you have to.
But you mentioned about an STP, which probably is, I don't know whether it is outside my purview as an apartment MC. Now I have limited powers, which is like, 500 people living in my apartment. So what can I do with my limited powers? Apart from mobilizing people, is that, like you just said, talk to your friends in your some corporates which they can give 2% of their CSR and reviving that lake behind your this thing. So what are other things that we can do to?
Generally speaking, a lake revival is an expensive affair. You're not talking about anything less than 1 crore, even for a modest-sized lake, and it could easily hit 10 crores. So you definitely want, outside funding. You definitely want government funding. And the truth is, the government is bankrupt. The BBMP is running a very massive deficit. And that is why I am now saying that we should go the PPP model, public-private partnership, where you raise money from.
So short term, if you're looking at, there's 3-4 things that you can do. One, what we did once in one of the lake in Vidyaranapura is do a tree counting drive. The tree count drive, at least you can do the number, you can involve the kids. Kids really love it, like Kare Haba is something what's done in Vidyaranapura. Just do a tree count with your volunteers on a weekend with the kids. You can have a tree count. If you are lucky enough to find a botanist who can tell you the name of the trees, it will also be a learning experience for the kids to do it. So you do a tree count. And if you have a photography club, I'm sure now photography is a big craze. Can you just do a photography class or a photography drive in that particular neighborhood around the lake? What happens is just photography and documenting the whole process. You can, a lot of times if you're going alone to crusade against some dumping that's happening, if you're going alone and complaining, saying that somebody's encroaching the lake, it's a problem. But let's say you just do a photography workshop, you collect photographs, that itself you can document and then submit as a report at the end of the day. So as citizens, you can involve in small ways. I mean, as you said, as he was saying, like funds may be a criteria, but organizing a photography workshop, everybody can do it. It's a small initiative. As an MC, if you can take leads into something like this. Yes, yes. So once, as I said, when it's being watched, there are the guys, offenders will step back. Yes, yes. First,
You're the neighbors, you live in the
and when people, yes, when you get into that, surrounding people also will start joining. Once if one apartment does it, others will want to do it. We just did a small thing like a Swachh Sanjaynagar campaign. We just started with one apartment and we just had to clean that road. I mean, obviously, if you call all your guys and say we'll do all the roads, nobody will want to come. So we just did with that apartment just one road. And once this, and they had, banners of that particular apartment being held up, and they just did one drive in one road. Once that started, we had, other apartments in the neighborhood who said, we also want to do it, can you guys help? So we just did with next. So next, after 2-3 rounds, we have now that every apartments want to do it on a weekend. It's like a fun activity. They themselves just organize for some gloves. They just organize. We help them coordinate with the BBMP because it's for most of them it's a photo opportunity, but it's okay. At least now the kids themselves are feeling that they have cleaned that stretch of road. So if somebody is throwing, they themselves stop the citizens from dirtying the place. So you can start taking small steps. That's the whole.
Sorry, just one. So if you're an apartment community, today we've all talked about responsible waste management and what is as per the law. It is not the law, but we want every Bangalorean to start thinking about their waste. And what we're saying is the best way to do it. We believe we've launched a campaign, and that's the banner I put in there, swachhagraha.in. So I want to start with a small, story, what inspired us. In 1965, there was a famine in India. That time, we had a Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri, and what he said is, he made a call to the nation, saying, can you skip one meal? Did that solve our food famine problems? No, and that was not the only thing he did. He also started at the same time the Green Revolution, what became the Green Revolution and other things. So a lot of things started during that time. But because people started, doing that one meal skipping one meal, they felt that they are adding to the solution and not to the problem. We inspired by that and Swachh Bharat campaign that's been launched, we've launched something called Swachhagraha. We are asking people, can you hold 1 week of your wet waste in your house? Which means what? 1 week, don't give outside your house your wet waste. There is simple technique. So how much space? People say, I live in an apartment. So you see the box here, this is the amount of space it takes, which I'm sure in every apartment they'll be able to find. Take that, compost. If you look at a website, there are a lot of home composting options which are available. These have been tested extensively, used extensively with the volumes. The vendors have brought prices down. You can do it. You can create a do-it-yourself kit too. You hold 1 week of your waste, you compost it, you grow something as simple as a spinach. You cook it, you eat it. You see the whole cycle in your house. We found in every apartment that's done it, we found at least 30 to 40% of the people have stepped forward and say, I want to do it. You're all the change makers, right? That's why you're the management committee members. Invite us, we'll send somebody not like me, either I'm the stakeholder normally, but people who are much better trainers, who've grown their stuff for years, who are, committed organic terrace gardening. You'll see your balconies full of food. Today, if you look at it, the most toxic part of your food, and which is very essential, is your greens, your spinach and other things. They have the maximum number of pesticides, nothing you can do about it. Now, waste, instead of it becoming a problem, it'll become, today I take it from my neighbors. Why? Because I'm just growing so much stuff. And it started with one balcony, 2 pots. First 6 months, I just killed all the plants. I had no clue. I mean, I've done 24 years of education, but it hadn't taught me how to, grow a plant. But as I kept doing and I kept learning, sometimes I got some issues, I went to the websites, a learning experience. Now with Swachhagraha, all this is very nicely documented. The process, the solutions, everything has improved dramatically in the last 3 to 4 years. We want every citizen to take responsibility. If you've done it successfully, talk to your friend, talk to other people in your community, do a community Swachhagraha event. So on the website, you'll see how do you organize a Swachhagraha event. We have mentors whom will send them to your community to train. There are no charges for this. You can invite us to your communities. We'll train how to grow your own food. And we all become part of the solution then. Yes, today, because 70% of the BBMP cost is just for transportation. It's not for processing the waste. That's the unfortunate part. So, and 60% of your urban household waste, 60% is just organic waste, which is compostable. So if even 30% of your residents start composting, you'll have a wonderful green revolution in your own community.
Sure. So I think we are already coming in between our audience and their lunch, since we are talking about food already.
I just want to add one point.
Sure, please.
To summarize.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about money, not about vision. I think we heard a lot of vision, right? What is in it for us, right? So there is a lake, a Munaikulala lake, around which a lot of apartment complexes are there. It was rejuvenated recently, right? Some of the largest apartment complexes around it, not a single person came, right? When they were called upon for talking to the local bodies and all that stuff, a group from totally a different area came to rejuvenate the lake, right? So people who are in the backyard, and you know what, their property value gets better when the lake is rejuvenated, right? So they are not there. I think his question that how apartment complexes or management committees can help is that how do we do that? How do we sensitize these guys that is our lake? Someone's coming and helping. Let us go in big numbers. They are being threatened. Those guys are local guys are saying, who are you? You don't live here. Who are you to rejuvenate our lake? I'm going to build whatever here, right? So here, there's a term that Meera had coined, I guess, called apartment social responsibility, like corporate social responsibility. So can there be something formalized that, maybe a fund, I don't know how big, how small, that can be created towards this? And it is not just that it'll be a lot of money, anyway grants and all are there, but people will know that we are together doing something, either inside the apartment complex, even to reward people who are probably composting at home successfully, or it could be to help these kind of plantation or whatever outside and all that stuff. The moment people even put 1 rupee in that, right, they will ask the management committee in the AGM, what did we do, right? And then the MC will say, okay, we did this, how many of you came out, right? Money helps. Okay, so there are a lot of apartment complexes where the senior citizen, in fact, my apartment complex, uncle is doing the accounting. We tell him that please take some remuneration, right? We feel bad that, you're giving us so much time. And they say, you know what, I'm not going to take it, put it in a fund and build a toy library. Now, we may not want to do that, right? So we say, hey, why not a ASR fund where this goes, right? So this is something, we're just floating it, something to think about, because only when there is something tangible that people are, what did we do this year? Right, just like corporates, right? So,
Can I just share 1 minute? In our strive to reduce waste, as an MC, we took a decision. We will not allow anybody coming in to advertise to put handbills either in
promote, do an exhibition in our clubhouse or promote their product or activity, we tell them we accept only email flyers.
There was a charge, we charge 750 rupees to give an email, but no paper pamphlets, only email flyers. Email
Wonderful.
publication. That's wonderful. So we should include it. That is
Yeah.
100% implemented.
True.
And our senior citizens and myself as MC member, we went outside our apartment complex and we have rejuvenated the roadsides which were garbage dumps and full of wild shrubs. Our senior citizens have spent their personal money and we all joined together under a group of residents and we have developed roadside gardens around our complex.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Just to add one point, so it's not just about lakes and garbage and streets, and there's so many things that apartments can do, and I can give like lots of examples. So we'll take it offline since we are running out of time. But there are apartments which have done like they ensured that all the domestic help and the workers got health insurance. Simple thing. So there was somebody else who did the kids went and did an audit of how people commute and try to match people who could carpool, because nobody goes out and checks with their neighbors saying, are you going to the same place, can we carpool, right? So this kind of small initiatives can have a huge impact. Even if we can have like a within apartment goal, okay, by next year can we reduce the number of commutes by whatever 20%, can we increase the amount of water that we are saving by X%. Have tangible goals, it'll be great to have it.
Sure. So I think,
One point I want
yes.
to bring out, what she was telling, she was talking about people pamphlet. Entire Times of India paper is a pamphlet. Suggest all the, I don't know, you also had followed the same line. The paper, they waste so much of the paper just for advertisement. And I can tell you how many people go through the advertisement and what sort of advertisement they need. I wanted to classify, you put only a bunch of advertisement, give it to only selected people who want to take that. And charge, we'll pay the same money to you and I don't want this advertisement.
Okay.
So we are getting into media discussion now.
No, this is a...
No, we have a media person, so this can get longer.
Exactly, this is a totally different thing. You are actually paying for your news through that advertisement. So we'll take it.
Yeah.
When newspaper gets channelized in a responsible manner, it goes to the Raddiwala, then it gets channelized. What I was talking was reducing waste from that small hand.
Yeah.
What you are cutting?
Yeah.
And
So
we have stopped 100% paper.
I don't buy paper.
good.
I am reading news only in the net.
But newspaper comes from recycled
If you have
paper.
a dog and it has diarrhea. Newspaper by you know how to.
So I think let me just give a disclaimer here. I think we have already shared with you one form about waste management. I think let's reuse that page and write about anything that you want us as a panel to help you with. So I'll share that. Whatever you may want to, invite Malini, invite Arvind to your apartment to do some workshop. So please write it in that page and give it to me or put this on this table. We will communicate within ourselves. If somebody needs, we can come back to you and share this.
Yeah, I also we have an initiative in Citizen Matters to collaborate with communities on solving specific problems, especially related to the government. So, but maybe I'll talk after lunch. I'll take
Sure.
like 2-3 minutes post lunch and talk.
So thank you so much, guys, and thanks a lot, panelists. So we should break for lunch, and we are meeting after 45 minutes, right? Half an hour, 45 minutes. Thank you so much, guys.